Good, how are you doing? I'm Officer Earhart with the Pensacola Police Department. Do you have your license on you by any chance? Oh, you did?
Patrol.
I do. Yeah, I tried to patrol. Thank you.
Registration?
That's okay right now. Because of the virus and everything, do you mind talking to me outside? Okay. We'll just step right back here to my car. That way, you know, the contagion and all that kind of stuff.
We have this stuff that
How you doing, Miss Wells?
Yes, you do.
How you doing?
Miss Wells, you're going to have to come with us. We're going to be bringing you down to the police station, have a conversation. These two officers will be taking you down there.
All right.
Sir, we'll discuss it when we get down there, but you're going to have to get in the car with them. Let me get your keys for you.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Go get your keys for you.
Just put your hands on this number right in front of us.
This is Daniel Leonard Wells. For 35 years, he had no idea that the police had been looking for him.
Kelly?
Patrol 9 will be tonight.
Have a seat for it. Or no, you can sit up. How it's gonna work? Yeah, watch your head. There you go. And you take it out like that. And we're gonna put it right here. There we go. Perfect.
Good. Yeah, we'll bring his truck down there.
Right.
Baker, can you bring the truck down?
On my car.
Okay, there.
Bring it upstairs. We got a member.
I need a point though, my name, date of birth, and father.
Now, you might be wondering how we got here. Buckle up, because detectives had been relentlessly working on this case for many years. At approximately 5:30 a.m. on January 1st, 1985, a mother and daughter were rushing their sick dog to the emergency vet. As they drove through a quiet neighborhood near the corner of Peacock Drive and Creighton Road, something caught their eye. At first, they thought it might be trash or discarded clothing, but as they got closer, the horrifying truth became clear. It was a body. They immediately called the police, and officers arrived within minutes. The victim was a young woman, partially nude, lying in an empty lot. There was no blood at the scene, and drag marks in the dirt suggested she'd been killed elsewhere and then dumped here. Her purse was found a few blocks away, and it contained her driver's license. That's how investigators identified her as Tonya McKinley. Residents who lived nearby told officers they'd passed that exact spot at around 2 a.m. and were certain there'd been nobody there at the time. This meant the killer had dumped Tonya somewhere between 2 a.m. and 5:30 a.m. And here's what made investigators believe the killer was local. The winding roads and complex layout of that neighborhood weren't easy to navigate unless you knew the area. Whoever did this wasn't just passing through. They knew Pensacola. An autopsy revealed the cause of death as strangulation. Tonya had also been sexually assaulted and struck with a blunt object, causing trauma to her head. Investigators recovered crucial evidence from her body and the crime scene: semen, head hair, and pubic hair. In 1985, DNA technology was still in its infancy. So, while they had the evidence, they couldn't do much with it yet. And despite interviewing dozens of people who'd been at Daryl's Bar and Grill that night, canvassing the neighborhood and following every possible lead, the trail went cold. For the next 35 years, Tonya McKinley's case haunted the Pensacola Police Department. It became the oldest cold case in the city's history, and every few years, a new lead would pop up. Detectives would drop everything to chase it down, only to hit another dead end. But in recent years, forensic genealogy has revolutionized cold case investigations. In 2019, the Pensacola Police Department partnered with the Florida Department of Law Enforcement and a Virginia-based company called Parabon Nanolabs. They took the DNA sample recovered from Tonya's body in 1985 and ran it through an open-source genealogy database. And they got a hit. They found several people who appeared to be distant cousins of the killer. From there, investigators used genetic genealogy. They built a family tree starting with those distant cousins. Then they worked their way through generations, eliminating people one by one. But eventually, that family tree led them to one man, Daniel Leonard Wells, a 57-year-old who lived in Pensacola the entire time. Now, investigators couldn't just walk up and arrest him based on a family tree. They needed direct confirmation. So, they followed Wells and waited, and on March 4th, 2020, their patience paid off. Officers watched as Wells sat in his car and lit a cigarette. When he finished, he tossed the butt out the window. Detectives immediately stopped, recovered the cigarette, and sent it to the lab. When the results came back, the DNA was a perfect match. Within days, detectives located Daniel on the highway while he was driving and pulled him over.
You have anything on you that I missed, Mr. Wells? Okay. You receive all your property back.
Huh?
You will receive all your property back. So. Right this way, right through this door here, sir. Thanks, sir.
You got safety on you?
Yep. You all right? Got it. Okay, so you got the rails right here for you if you need it. All right. Might just having a seat for me.
You need
Perfect.
some water or anything?
No, I'm fine, thanks.
All right, we'll be right back with you, sir.
I'll go back for a week.
This place, I worked for Matt last year. One time I took it for just all the I do PMSs and booths and.
But I hope it's not something woodworking here.
Son of one work at is a Tim Bennett shop over across Chico. And CDC, he does mainly residential stuff like that, but
Watch the switch.
he's starting to do. I did 3 jobs for Jim and I was done working for him. And I just wanted to go work over at CDC. And I do my own stuff. I got a little shop at my house. But he's starting to get into commercial woodworking and stuff. So I'm doing the Western Center down in Ocala. Right now.
Couple of lots at Ocala, all the work from down there in Ocala is being done from up here.
Yeah,
How long have you been in woodworking stuff?
probably since, I don't know, the mid-80s, whatever.
You ever worked at a place called Woodcraft?
Woodcraft manufacturing, yeah, Fred Eater.
Yeah. How long did you work there?
About a year and a half, 2 years.
My dad used to work there.
Okay.
Back, let's see, he retired from the Navy in 87.
Daniel had lived in various cities since the murder of Tonya McKinley in Pensacola. He had vanished from the area for years. During that time, he had married twice and divorced twice, fathering only one son. But when detectives began questioning him about his past, Daniel grew visibly uncomfortable and refused to be forthcoming with the truth.
I don't know where Elkhurst is.
Well, I mean, why would you give them a different address? So it's not on your driver's license, right? Because you never lived there and your parents didn't live there.
You know. I don't remember that. I mean, I didn't have a license.
You remember not having a license. You remember there
Well,
was,
they arrested me for driving on a suspended license. I think I had my driver's license, but then maybe I didn't. I don't know.
you made a bad left turn. That's why they stopped it. It's illegal left hand turn.
I remember that because it was faded. You couldn't see the arrow or anything on the road.
But they got you at 4237 Elmcrest Drive, Pensacola, Florida. So it's not like sometimes when we stop people,
Yeah.
we get their driver's license and we'll just write down the information on
Right.
their driver's license without asking them. And so sometimes it's wrong because they moved, they haven't changed their driver's license.
Right.
But in your case, it would have been on your driver's license, right? It would have been this 12th and Cervantes address back then. case scenario, maybe your parents' old address,
I
you've never changed it.
don't remember. Unless I was staying with a friend or something. I can't. It's been a while, man.
I understand it's been a while. But that's on both of them, 4237 Elmcrest. So that could only have come from you.
Right.
You would have had to give them that information. There could be a mistake on their part. They copied down the wrong thing. Right? But you don't remember why you would say that?
Yeah, I don't. No.
It's been a while. You remember the car you were driving?
Well,
You know what car you were driving when that happened?
uh,
Was it the Jeep or the other car?
no, it might have been. I did have a. After that, no, I did. I had a Ford F-150.
So that's what you
My
were
grandfather's. Yeah, I forgot. Yeah, my grandfather.
It was your
Yeah,
granddad.
yeah. Because he moved.
You don't
It was
remember
Ellie Trace.
where he lived.
He lived with Ellie Trace.
The address. But that address wouldn't have been his address.
On the night Tonya was last seen alive, she had gone to celebrate New Year's Eve 1984 with her cousin Vanita. Vanita's husband invited him out to Daryl's Bar and Grill, a popular spot near what was then University Mall. By all accounts, it was an ordinary night out. Vanita later told investigators that nothing seemed amiss. At the time, Tonya had a young son, Timothy, who was cared for by a late-night daycare that closed at 1 a.m., along with Vanita's children. When Vanita and her husband decided to head home, Tonya chose to stay at the party. Nobody could have known it would be the last time anyone would see her alive.
No.
No,
Never had a battery. No.
we're been involved in a report. Or maybe an arrest for a battery that later on was like, never mind, it's not the way it's seen, and they just dropped charges.
No. I've never. I don't think so.
Okay. Anything to do with any prostitution? Solicitor prostitute? You have to know if I'm asking a question like that.
No, I'm thinking,
I think you remember if you got arrested for soliciting prostitution.
yeah, I got pulled over one time in Brownsville, but I didn't get, I wasn't soliciting prostitute. I don't know what they pulled me over for, and then they went through my vehicle.
But you got a charge for solicitation.
I don't remember, I don't think I did. We talked out there on the street and stuff. And it was,
They didn't get a ticket, a notice to appear, didn't get taken to jail.
so.
Would you be surprised to say when I ran your criminal history, it showed both those charges? That you're arrested for battery?
Just trying to remember. Battery?
Yeah. No, that you're
I remember the
arrested
battery.
for solicitation? Don't, nothing at all.
Yeah. I've never talked this, yeah. But I didn't get, I didn't think I got arrested.
Well, so here's the thing. So, you're like me, you're older, you're experienced,
Mhm.
you got a lot of life experience and stuff. So, you gotta know we're not here because of today, right? There's been a lot of work leading up to today. And I ask you questions because I'm giving you opportunities to clear some things up. And I'll ask you questions that I already know the answer to. But it's better if the answers come from you. And so it gives you that opportunity to explain it. So just kind of keep that in mind.
Daniel had faced several battery charges in the past. When he claimed he'd never been charged before, the detectives immediately recognized he was lying. They persisted, confronting him with the truth, particularly regarding his treatment of women.
And there's like 5. And now those victims chose, as many do, they didn't want to go through the court process and they didn't want to have to go testify and stuff like that. But there's reports
Right.
that you've done this more than that
When I was in Missouri.
while you were in Missouri.
Right.
You did it multiple times. When was that?
That was in the 90s, probably 92 through like, 95 or something like that.
Pretty close. And like I said, it's been a while, but we're talking cases in 90 and then again in 98. What was going on in your life during those two, 90, and 1998 that trigger you to behave like this?
I don't know.
Even if it was just alcohol and that led to it.
Yeah. I don't
There was
know.
something going on in 1990.
Yeah.
What was it? Was it a divorce? Was it just fighting? Or
Just a combination of that, maybe the way my childhood and stuff. I don't know.
what year did you get divorced?
98, I believe it was.
The first time or second?
First time.
When did you get married?
And 93.
So there's some
92.
So you weren't married before that,
No.
when this all happened and ended like 91 and 89 and stuff.
So yeah, that's what I'm saying. So in 1990, you got some of this behavior in 1990 prior to you getting married. Then you get married, you behave. Then marriage starts falling apart in 1998, excuse me. And you go back to that behavior. But I mean, is that a fair statement?
Yeah. Sounds fair. It's just being stupid. I don't know why.
Again, Dan, I just can't stress the importance of know where we're at now. At the end of this investigation, that it's important for you to be as truthful as you can. I understand that
Right.
you're trying and that you're trying to be truthful and trying to remember stuff. But it seems like on some of this stuff already, we're having to spoon feed you stuff. And you're like, oh, yeah, okay, now that you're telling me you know about it, then I'll go ahead and tell you the truth.
Right.
And,
I mean, I know you.
and that's,
It's embarrassing.
Dan, there's nothing that you can say that's going to embarrass us.
Well, it embarrasses me.
I've been here, you haven't, right, I'd say embarrassing. Right? I've been doing this 30 years. He's somewhere around 27 years now doing this. A lot of our career has been spent up here in investigations. We have investigated the worst of the worst crimes that Pensacola has brought to us. So, like he said, you're not going to surprise us with anything. Okay, I understand your point of view that it's embarrassing to say that I did these things, but unfortunately, you're not in a spot right now where you're going to be hide behind that embarrassment.
Right.
Okay, it's time for all that stuff to end. It's time to come clean and just be honest. Okay, because that's going to get you through all this. Okay, it's just honesty. So when you're talking about you're exposing yourself, right? You were in the parking lot. How did you get the girl to approach you?
I just pulled up to where she was. She was just there, in her car.
But you're in a what vehicle?
I was in my truck.
Okay, so she's not gonna be able to see you
Yeah.
unless you stand up or something.
When she walked up to the truck,
Why would she walk up to the child?
can't remember. I asked her something. She came over, asked her for some directions or something. She walked up.
Exactly. See?
And she saw me.
Right. Very good. So that's basically, and I'm gonna put it in law enforcement terms. Okay, I know this may not jive with how your point of view on it is, but from our point of view, what you did is you pulled up, you saw a lady, probably pretty, right? Targeted her.
I've been drinking.
You've been drinking, right?
That's the only time I ever did.
And then, so you said you asked for direction to lure her over to your truck, right? And then you committed the act of masturbating in front of her. Why would you do that? I understand you were drinking. I mean,
I don't know.
is it out of frustration? Do you think that seeing her reaction or her embarrassment or something like that was something that you were looking
No, I
at?
just think it was just for my gratification. Just, I don't know. It's just,
Do you think it helped you sexually? It helped arouse you that you were going to do this?
just expose myself.
Yeah.
Perhaps. Yeah.
So there was a sexual aspect to doing it. It wasn't external. It wasn't that you were trying to hurt her.
No.
It was for yourself to help you with like arousal and how you felt sexually about it.
I would say that.
Okay. Did you use that story every time? Or did you use
No,
different stories?
That was just.
Again, that was the one that you got arrested on,
Mhm.
but there was other cases. Was it Independence? You're
Independence. Yeah.
in Blue Springs, you mentioned,
I used to live in Blue Springs.
but you mentioned in one of those, is either Blue Springs or Liberty when you said you were by the dumpster?
It was outside of Liberty. Yeah, that was up next to South Sioux Springs.
Okay.
That was in there.
Either Liberty County or is it Liberty City?
Liberty City.
Okay. But so there's the one time I guess accidentally because you're Pete. So what happened in Independence? My understanding that was another one where you were exposed, not just expose yourself, but you were
I
masturbating.
can't remember, but a guy had done something. I had pulled into a parking lot or whatever, and pulled up by somebody and exposed myself. I guess I got, said it would give me a thrill to expose myself, as sick as it is.
Well, look,
But I just,
So-
I can't remember exactly where that was in Independence, but I know that it was.
so Dan, part of what we're talking
Daniel had a documented history of assaulting women without their consent. He was a heavy drinker, and alcohol transformed him into someone else entirely. Yet, even in his drunken state, Daniel knew exactly what he was doing. In 1987, just 2 years after Tonya's murder, Daniel Wells was arrested for battery and witness tampering in Pensacola. He pleaded no contest to the battery charge. Then, in 1988, he was arrested for soliciting a prostitute. These weren't isolated incidents. They painted a disturbing picture of a man with a pattern of violence and misogyny. Beyond the documented cases, there were numerous other women who never came forward to report their encounters with Daniel. When detectives sensed Daniel was being deceptive, they confronted him directly with the DNA evidence.
about. And again,
John Pendergast, and I had a little
let me show you, Tony.
Okay.
I mean, this is what she would look like if she had gone out.
I don't know her.
Don't know her at all.
No, I've
You never
seen
had
her.
contact with her?
Never.
Any idea what we're talking about yet?
No, I don't. I don't know what. I don't have any idea what you're talking about.
All right, let's cut to the chase. So that young lady I just showed you a picture of.
Right.
New Year's Eve, 1984, going 1985. January 1st, early morning, 1985.
Okay.
Was found dead on the side of a road. And I have the evidence that you're the one that's there.
Oh,
I have irrefutable evidence that you're there. I'm not doing all this
Right.
on a guess.
I
You're not doing all this
don't. No.
on a hunch. Dan,
Yeah,
telling you you're there.
I wasn't there.
Do you watch TV? Some?
Yeah.
Watch any kind of crime shows or just news stories about crime or stuff like that? Cold case files, anything like that?
No.
You know about DNA?
Yeah.
DNA is actually just as positive, if not more positive fingerprints.
Right.
So I can prove to literally 1 in 700 billion chances you were there. That's where we're at again. I'm not asking you,
Right.
okay? We're not asking you if you're there. Honestly,
I don't. I mean, it doesn't. It
Yeah,
has
it's
been a
been
one.
35 years.
Yeah.
It's been 35 years. This is the first time you've probably talked to the police about this. I'm sure of that,
yeah.
right? Have you noticed anything unusual for the last couple of weeks?
No.
Nobody around you looked unusual, seen a bunch of police cars for no reason, nothing
No.
like that.
Felt like somebody was following you.
No.
Well, we have been.
The thing is that your DNA is at this site, right? On this person.
It is nobody else's except yours. There's no other explanation. Right? It can't be a possibility of somebody else's DNA. Your DNA is at this scene.
Dan, I get this is your life. This is probably freaking you out a little bit,
I just.
right? But listen to me. There's a story here, right? And either you can choose to give that story about what happened, the chain of events that led to what ultimately happened as to why we're here, and you have a part to play in that. If you don't, it starts to look pretty bad as to why you're not explaining it.
I don't
Do you understand what I'm
understand. I mean, I would never. I've never hurt anybody in my life. That's what's, I mean, I've had one night stands and stuff before, but it's like,
Have you had a one night stand?
DNA evidence is one of the most powerful tools in modern criminal investigation. Even the smallest biological trace can reveal a person's unique genetic profile. For the detectives, finding Daniel's DNA on Tonya's body was no coincidence. It proved he knew what had happened to Tonya on that fateful night.
recognize her, I don't know the name.
Dan,
It's like you went back to school days. I
the
don't know.
only reason you're not telling us that you know who she is because you're afraid that somehow we'll find out that you're responsible for her death. We already know that you are.
That's
No
what
way,
I
man.
I said, so just listen, right? It's been 35 years ago, right? This has been 35 years that you haven't had to face this, right? And all of a sudden, one day you're at work, you run your work day, everything's fine. You're on your way home, all of a sudden you get pulled over an hour later in this room, and we're telling you this. It's a shock. And totally normal human behavior to be defensive about. Nobody wants to admit, much like you sat there for a while and didn't want to admit that you had exposed yourself and masturbated women. We had to go through this whole process where you're like, no, oh, well, yeah. Well, I did a little bit while I was peeing. And she said something, then I said something, and that was it. Oh, wait, no, there was another time. We went through that whole process with you, right?
Right.
We're starting it over again. But we're going to end up in the same place because we're not here by accident. I'm being honest with you. I don't really like playing games. Right? We've been doing this way too long. And I'm going to give you the information that you deserve to have. Right? So that you can make the right decision and tell your side of the story. Because I'm telling you, saying that you weren't there does not work. I can prove you were there. The question, the unknown is how it happened. What precipitated it? What were all the dynamics going on that led to that end result?
I can't answer that.
You not being there is not an acceptable answer because the evidence, the DNA, proves you were there without a doubt. This is going to make your world spin, right?
No, it just blows me away that, I mean, I don't understand. I'm really confused.
Well, maybe I'm a bit confused too.
No, I mean, I don't know her. And I mean, I've never heard anybody.
I can believe you don't know her. Maybe you didn't know her beforehand. You certainly wasn't, unless you knew her that night. You knew her
Very well. I don't know. That's what I'm saying. I don't.
I want to paint a little bit of this picture for you here, okay?
I mean, I've
So
been.
I've asked you about Elmcrest,
Right.
right?
Okay.
And so you're like, I don't know why.
My address doesn't.
I don't know why I said Elmcrest. I have no idea. I've got this there's a blank hole here where I don't understand why in 1985 I would have told the police that I lived on Elmcrest. I have no idea. That's what you're going to say. The problem is Elmcrest is like a half a mile away from where this happened. I don't consider that a coincidence. So now you don't remember living half a mile away or giving an address a half a mile away from where this happened. And now, even though I am telling you, just like I told you, you told the police down there you lived on Elmcrest. And now I'm telling you the DNA proves that you were there, and you're just, I don't remember. I don't know. And that's really not going to work for you. Because the scene, the evidence we have at the scene, paints a very ugly picture. This was not gentle. This is not an accident. And if you're going to let the evidence tell a story, it paints a very ugly picture. Your opportunity is to soften that because we understand there are other dynamics that go on. We're open to the fact because we've heard it time and time again. We don't go into anything with a closed mind because there's been too many times we go in thinking one thing and we walk out thinking something totally different because then we hear the other side of the story. That's how we operate from experience. But I'm gonna be honest with you, right? That's all I can do with you. My profession forces me to be honest. So I can be honest with you. But the evidence tells me you were there. What it doesn't say is how everything happened. And then there's also the concern if there's other things going on. Just like you're like, well, there was one incident where I was like, oh, wait, there's one other incident where, yeah, I didn't masturbate. Oh, wait, there's another incident where I masturbated. There's that concern also.
Right.
But we all have to work with each other. We're here to work with you. Okay? It's all about this is your side of the story. This is all about you and getting this out. But I can't put words in your mouth. I can't tell you what to say. You're the only one that can do that. And the problem is going to be if you start out, as you've already had on the little things, with denials and lies, it's going to dig your hole deeper. Because you're going to tell one lie, as you've already seen, we're going to call you on it. Then you're going to tell another lie to cover up the first lie. And then another lie to cover up the first and second. And it keeps continuing. And every time you tell that lie, it like digs your hole a little bit deeper. And about 45 minutes from now, you're going to be sitting in that chair feeling like you're in a very deep, dark hole. And then you're going to want to get out. And it might be too late. Don't dig that hole that deep. We're open. We're here to listen to your story. But I cannot be any more honest with you that you were there.
I just don't understand.
Do you not believe me when I tell you that?
I
You want to know how we know you were there? I told you we were following you? Because we need DNA, right? So we have DNA from the scene. Week and a half, 2 weeks ago now, on your way into work, you threw a cigarette butt out the window.
There's a way, you're on your way up to a shop, I believe, on Halifax. And you're driving from the shop up Pace. And there may have been a police car behind you. And then all of a sudden that police car stops and blocks all traffic right behind you. Remember seeing that?
Mhm.
Do you know what you did just before that? You threw your cigarette butt out the window. And I was in that police car.
There's two FBI agents right behind you.
And we picked up that cigarette butt. We submitted. It came back as a match.
Daniel's composure was crumbling, and detectives could see the weight of his secret bearing down on him. Despite this, Daniel continued to deny ever crossing paths with Tonya. But what the detectives presented next would force him to make a partial admission.
I don't know.
Explain to me then, Dan, explain to me how your DNA ends up with this girl.
I have, unless it was I had sex with her or something. I don't know, a one night stand or something like that. But after that, I don't, have any recollection of anything.
Why would you not have it? I mean, you lived in the area during this time, right?
I guess I did. I don't know.
1995. I mean,
Yeah.
this was a pretty big deal back then. It's on the news.
I don't remember it.
So how
I mean, I'm just,
how can your DNA end up with her?
unless we had sex, that's the only reason. I don't
I'm
know.
not asking I'm not asking you to theorize. I'm asking you to tell me because you were there. How did your DNA end up with
With
this?
her. I was with her, I guess.
I want,
I was with her.
I guess, and I'm not trying to.
But I don't remember her. I don't remember the name, the face means I don't remember her.
Yeah.
But if you're in and out partying or something like that, I mean, it happened pretty regularly.
So, would you think, like we talked about earlier, that there's after 35 years, there's lots of things that are kind of vague in memories, except for the specific life events,
No.
like in 1986, right? 1985, excuse me, when the space shuttle blew up. I know exactly where I was standing when I heard it, because that's a significant event in my life, right?
Right.
So you get significant events in your life that you remember exactly where you were,
Right.
what you were doing when they happened. Don't you think that if you had sex with a girl, you were out partying New Year's Eve, you met a girl, you picked her up, you were in the car, right? You had sex with her, and then the next morning on the news, you find out she's dead. You'd remember that.
I would, yeah. Yeah, I would remember it.
So that's the
But
most,
I mean, I don't know. It's like, I don't know.
that's the most innocent scenario I can give you.
Right. I don't know. It's,
Do you think there was a time that you were, I mean, back then, were you drinking so much that you had a
I
hard
don't
time?
remember. I don't forget. I mean, I've got a good memory.
Right. So you remember if you had sex with a girl the next day, she was on a newspaper day. Even if you didn't know who she was. You'd remember the next day when they put her picture in the paper 2 days later, oh my God, I was just having sex with her 2 nights ago on New Year's Eve.
I guess I would remember if I'd seen it.
I'm just trying to throw some logical stuff there. Dan, I'm trying to help you out here. Because I'm telling you, the picture that this evidence paints is not one that you want to go out there without an explanation. There's room there to mitigate some of that evidence, right? There's room there to make it look better than it looks right now.
It looks horrible.
But I can't fill in the blanks for you.
Right.
I wasn't there. I was a junior in high school. And I was in Key West, Florida. I wasn't even here. So I can't fill in those blanks. You're the only one. Your son's in Arizona. 24 now. Stay in contact with him?
All the time.
Very good. That's hard to do sometimes. I got a son that's in the Air Force. Spent 2 years in Japan. Now he's in Biloxi, which is
With Daniel showing signs of breaking, detectives shifted their strategy, steering the conversation toward his son. How the boy might view his father if the wrong narrative about that night became public. As they pressed on, Daniel began to crack.
The answers. And it may be terrible. And if it's terrible, and you went there just like the picture that I painted, that you lured this girl, you knocked her out, you dragged her into your car, and you went over here to the secluded spot, and you murdered her. I get it. Maybe that case you don't want to tell me, because that doesn't help you. If there's something that happened, maybe you guys hit it off. Maybe your interaction with her was a positive. Maybe she's somebody that you picked up, and maybe this is somebody you're thinking, hey, maybe this is going to be someone that I can have a relationship with. And then things went horribly, horribly wrong, right? She may have some involvement in that. We don't know because she can't tell us.
Right.
The only person who can is you, and that's totally different. Those two scenarios are different. This guy's a monster, right? This guy's a monster. He needs to go away forever. We've been down this road before. It's never as simple as people like to sensationalize. It never is. I've worked 18 of these. Every story is different, and none of them, I would say, maybe one or two are monsters. The other ones are just regular people who got involved and caught up in bad situations that just escalated, got out of control and away from it, and they didn't know what to do. And they made a mistake.
we have sat in this room with monsters. So we know. And we're not feeling that with you.
I'm not a monster.
But you don't
Yeah, I
want
know,
to
I
control
know.
this.
It's,
You control the narrative on this.
I was with her and stuff, but I didn't give her a ride home. And there was a group of us. because I guess she lived over in Chicago or something. But Bobby Hicks and a guy named Ralph James, they were with me. There was a group of people I went to school with that were there, and we did have sex in the parking lot. And other than that, well, no, actually, I was at the house. I guess that's where John Pendergast lived.
Was that the house on Hillcrest?
I guess, yeah, that must have been, you know,
So
that's
you were
the
living-
address I don't recall, but I would stay with him every now and then.
Was he out with you that night?
No, but those are the guys, they were, and came by the house, and, but they left with her.
Well, tell us what happened.
I had sex with her.
Where'd you meet her?
I guess I remember at one of those bars. I don't remember the name of the bar, but it was
Where?
really bad. University Mall.
Was it Chance?
I wasn't at Chance. No, I can't remember. It was one of those bars. It wasn't Chance.
Was it a restaurant?
Oh, it was a restaurant and a bar.
Yeah. So be very careful,
Okay.
because like we said before, you're trying to you're minimizing, and I understand that you're doing a lot of I guesses. I think when in reality, you know, right?
Right.
I can already tell by the way you're acting that you almost feel relieved that you're telling some of this stuff because it's been bothering you. We hit that 35 years you've been waiting for this day, and it's here now.
Right.
And it's hard, but you're going to get it off your chest. But you got to do it the right way, which is you remember the details.
Yeah.
So just tell us what happened. Tell us the details of what happened, and then we'll work through you with it.
Wow.
Don't create details. Just
I'm not. I'm just.
Dan, you don't. I mean, Dan, you don't have to go back and remember this. It's still there. See, so when you're thinking, you're trying to think of the best way to present it so that it looks great for you. And
No, it doesn't look great. It's.
but you're trying to soften it, and I understand that, and we recognize that because we've done this for a very long time. But this is not the time to do that. You know, telling your wife why you were late. You know, that night you went out drinking with your buddies or something. That's the time to try to soften it up. Well, you know, this and that. This is not the time to do that because those details are still very bright in your mind because this is one of those defining moments in your life.
the guy that the circumstances happened to him, this guy over here, at some point he's got to stop lying. The monster keeps lying.
Yeah.
He's going to throw bullshit out there. And you're going to try and throw bullshit at us. I get that. That happens all the time. It has to stop. I don't care if you told us something that's not true. It doesn't reflect on what we're doing as long as we get to what actually happened, right? We've been through this hundreds of times with people. You've only been through this one time, right? You're at a disadvantage as far as that goes. We know what you're doing and how you're thinking. We've seen it thousands of times, right? You have some ability to craft your outcome, but you've got to be honest about what took place, right? You want people to understand what happened. If you're not that monster, you've got to explain your part in this.
The thing is, like I've told you, we ask questions we know answers to. We have evidence. Not only your DNA, we have other evidence, right? So when you tell your story, and we can counter it with evidence, it shows that you're not being honest, which reflects badly on you. Don't worry, we're going to call you out on it. So the best thing to do is just start at the beginning. Tell the truth, exactly what happened. Because every time you think, you say, I guess, or think, it tells me that you're not being totally honest about that moment of the story. But there's no escape now except for the truth.
Right.
So it started at the beginning.
Well, I remember that her friends had left her and she wanted a ride home. And, we went by my house and we had a few drinks and stuff. And it just escalated from that. I just, I think I hit her in the head and knocked her out. And it was a traumatic blow. And it killed her.
What happened that made it get out of control?
I think we just got kind of an argument or something. I can't remember what it was.
Was it about having sex?
No, she was willing to.
Was
But
it,
then Ralph and those guys, they stopped by for a while, and they left. And
Were you having sex with her
before, yeah.
and
we
then
had
she
before.
tried to withdraw it, and that's what led to it? So like in the middle of it, did she want to stop?
We had consensual sex and stuff, and then I just and
What happened that make things get out of hand?
just
was it something she said?
I don't know.
I mean, can we be real here? Did she like comment on your sexual performance or
No.
something?
No.
Was it
It
good?
was just, it was, yeah, it was, but it was
Did she want to leave and you didn't want to leave yet?
something like that. I don't.
And here we go again. Well, we're trying to give you the escape.
I can't remember. I just know.
But you're the one that was there. So just something simple. You said you hit her in the head. What'd you hit her in the head with?
I think it was a cutting board.
Cutting board?
Yeah, like a wooden block.
Wooden block cutting board. At your house.
The one on Elcrest?
So you were just staying up there with Pendergrass? And that's where this happened, man.
Was anyone else there?
Earlier there were. There's
So
some
you
guys
say-
there, but then it was later on in the evening and stuff like that. And,
So Bobby and Ralph came over there while you were there with her? Had you already had sex with her then?
there once.
Once.
And then, we're
So then they came over, they hung out for a little bit with y'all, had some drinks, and then they left.
right.
And then you
So
said
we
y'all
got
had
kind of into a little bit of an argument or whatever, and from drinking and stuff. It just kind of got out of hand.
thinking cutting board, you're in the kitchen arguing.
I was standing in the kitchen and she was.
You had
What-
sex in
what-
the bedroom, right?
And you said once, so there was a second time. Was it after you hit her?
Uh, yes, it was.
So you hit her, you said it was a fatal blow. She was unconscious at least. So then you had sex with her a second time while she was
Well, not
unconscious.
really sex, but I didn't.
You tried.
We had sex. I did. Then it was like I couldn't believe what had happened, and I couldn't get her to respond.
So you
I
stopped.
don't know.
So what you do then?
I think I just took her down the road.
Think.
I took her down the road
And what?
in my vehicle.
Which vehicle?
I don't know what it was. I think it was my Ford. I think it was my truck. I think it was-
Let's tell you 150 that you got to take it down in South Florida.
I had that truck down there. That was a company truck.
Okay. So you think you had a pickup truck?
Yeah.
Where'd you put her?
Just on the side of the road.
I mean, in the truck, bed,
Passenger seat.
Did you wake up at all? When
I
did,
checked her pulse and all that stuff, and I was just freaked out, man.
before or after you left her body?
Before,
How did you eventually kill her?
I think it's strangulation. I remember just we getting into it. We had a big fight.
Where was she at when you strangled her? Was it on the place where you brought her to, or was it the house?
So,
What did you use?
spray.
Now, you said that you had sex with her a second time after she was hurt.
I didn't.
I'm just trying to piece together the reason.
We were going to have sex again, and we did, and we kind of got into it a little bit.
So it was over one and a
She
half
slapped me, and so I just I hit her with it.
There's indications that the sex would happen after she's unconscious too. So did you have sex with her after you hit her?
You said, yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
I guess, yeah. I
So
did.
she wasn't a willing
Right.
participant in that. But that's what the argument was about that led to that.
Second time.
But then you realized she really was unconscious.
And it's like,
So you kind of lost interest at that point, which was kind of annoying.
yeah,
So I mean, it kind of made me think that maybe the argument was that you wanted sex again, she didn't want to. That led to the argument, that led to her slapping you, that led to you hitting her in the head, and then you had sex with her again. Did the strangulation occur after that sex or before?
before,
Yeah. So hit her in the head, she goes out,
right?
You strangle her.
Right.
and then you have sex with her again, at least partially. You try it. You're trying to have sex with her again, you realize, oh
Yeah.
shit, she's really hurt.
Yeah.
Take her out, you put her in a truck, you drive around, and push her out and dump her on the side of the road. Nothing.
Like a bad church.
How about her?
Leave it.
Does she have any other belongings with her?
Got that, you know.
Does she have a purse?
Thinks I don't know shit. First night she might be had.
Shoes?
Sure.
What'd you do with those?
I don't know. I don't remember.
When you had sex with her at the house on Hillcrest the second time, was it all in the kitchen where the cutting board was? Or did you bring her back into the bedroom?
I think it was back in the bedroom.
What'd you do about the blood? In the house. I mean, you cracked her in the head. She, that was big.
I just tried to clean up.
Was your buddy Pendergrass? Was his house? He wasn't there though? Where was he at?
Out, I guess. Out for the night.
He's still out for the night. What time frame do you think you're talking about now?
Early morning. I would say. Like 1 o'clock or something. I can't be. I mean, it was New Year's Eve.
Where had you been before that?
I couldn't tell you.
You just ended up at the restaurant behind
Right.
University Mall. But there by yourself, or you were at that
There was a
way.
group of people there that were.
Who else was with you?
This guy named Ralph James.
Bobby.
And Bobby Hicks.
They were both at the bar where you met this girl.
They were there, yeah. So,
Did you ever talk about that happened? They came back by the house after you took her home. Then they stopped by before the fight happened. And then they left. You want to have sex a second time. There's an argument. Afterwards, did they see this?
No, they were gone.
But did they see it in the paper and go to you? And
Never heard anything about it.
When you saw in the paper, what happened? I mean, you had to been looking for it.
You looked.
Yeah. I just saw it and I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe it.
How was your life in the months leading after this?
Not good.
Were you freaking out the whole time?
I was
Did you
just
ever-
blown away.
Did you ever
believe
want
it.
to tell on yourself?
Numerous times.
There was somebody that actually made a phone call that was trying to take responsibility for this, right? They couldn't get it all out. It seemed like they were struggling. Do you remember making a phone call to somebody? Not about this?
No.
Writing a letter or anything?
Never.
Did you ever tell me?
Never. Never. I've always kept it to myself. Just in denial and just unbelievable because sometimes I would think that it was just like a dream or something. Because I've never hurt anybody before. I mean, even growing up, fighting in school and stuff like that. It's just not my nature. I come from a great background.
What was different?
The detectives concluded the interrogation. Daniel was subsequently booked and charged with the murder of Tonya McKinley. Daniel Wells was held without bond at the Escambia County Jail. At his first court appearance, he pleaded not guilty. His arraignment was scheduled for early April 2020, and prosecutors were preparing to seek the harshest possible sentence. The evidence against him was overwhelming: DNA, genetic genealogy, and the cigarette butt. There was no question in anyone's mind that this case was heading straight to a conviction. But Daniel Wells never made it to trial. On the morning of April 2nd, 2020, just 15 days after his arrest, Daniel was found hanged in his cell. The Escambia County Sheriff's Office confirmed it was an apparent suicide. His first hearing had been scheduled for April 8th. He didn't even wait for the trial to begin.